another video. So today I'm really excited because I'm doing something you all have requested, and I'm starting a dog training series on this channel, which is super exciting because I've gotten so many requests. So before we start, if there's something you're struggling with your dog, comment down below and we'll make a video to try to help you sort that out. Okay, well, let's get into the video. Today's video is going to be on how to walk your dog. So I've gotten so many requests for this because a lot of dogs tend to pull on the leash, and I wanted to talk about it because I know a simple way that I've trained all of my dogs to walk together. It's how I've gotten a lot of dogs to be able to be on the leash together, be able to bike together, be able to walk together. And so what I'm going to tell you is a simple formula to get your dog to stop pulling on the leash and to start paying attention to you. And this simple formula, if you're walking multiple dogs, what you do is you start with one dog, get them down in the formula, have them perfect, and then you can add another dog and kind of start over. And then once they're both good, you keep adding on, you keep doing it. When you're walking a dog, the first thing I'm going to recommend is a slip lead. So pretty much a slip lead is a leash that when you pull, it tightens around the dog's neck, and as soon as you release the pressure, it releases. Why I like slip leads so much is because unlike a flat collar, the dog can feel the pressure of the leash so effortlessly. So I think that's really important when you're trying to teach a dog how to heel by your side and how to walk nicely on a leash. The second thing is how I teach the dogs to walk nicely. What I use is I use leash pressure to teach the dog to walk nicely. So the goal of leash pressure is to get your dog to start heeling by your side every single time you stop, because this will make sure that they're attentive to you, they're listening, they're not getting drawn into everything in the surrounding area, and they're just attentive to you and their master and not looking around trying to get into trouble, trying to lunge on the leash. So if you do it right, this is what your dog should end up like. And Jazzy's here right now. She was a show dog, and so she knew how to gait on the leash, but she never knew how to walk well on a leash. That was something she lacked. She always pulled. So the first couple things I'm gonna say is if you have a big dog or any type of dog, don't use a harness, because that actually will a harness or a flat collar actually activates their oppositional reflex. Okay, so don't use a harness or flatbed collar. And the reason for this is because you don't want to activate a dog's oppositional reflex. An example of the dog's oppositional reflex is when you are walking the dog, how they're pulling forward and you can kind of see them weighing into the collar or the harness. Or I want you to really quick grab your dog's collar and pull back a little bit, and they'll start to pull forward. That's activating their oppositional reflex, and a lot of people activate their dog's oppositional reflex without knowing what it is, and then they realize that they can't walk their dog because their dog's pulling so hard. So that's one way to just kind of make sure that you're not teaching your dog to pull. Now, when we go into walking, how I say it is if you go along the dog's spine, they're going to pull and the oppositional reflex is going to be activated. What I do when I do corrections is, if you can see, I'm putting pressure on the dog's neck sideways. I'm never pulling straight up, I'm pulling up into the side a little bit, and that's something that's really important as well. So now I'm going to show you me walking Jazzy. Jazzy's always pulled a little bit more, so I'm going to show you how I put pressure on. You want to make sure the pressure is consistent. I see a lot of my clients, the main thing they do is they'll pull up on the dog, release, pull up, release, pull up, release, and then the dog is kind of not realizing what's getting the release. You have to, in order for this to work flawlessly, pull up, hold it there, and as soon as the dog gives you a reaction, you want to release the pressure immediately. So the reason for this is the dog will start to learn to avoid the pressure on the leash. All they have to do is walk by your side. And one problem is a lot of people pull up, release, and then the dog won't ever get to the point where it just heels by your side because it doesn't understand that the release is coming from them heeling by your side. The other thing is when you're teaching pressure and release, I always mark it with a sound. So you can kind of see, I'll always go or snap. I snap a lot. So when the dogs are heeling, I'll snap once their butt gets on the ground. So then they'll start to relate a snap with them heeling. And then say they're on the other side of the house. One day if they're getting too crazy, I'll snap and they'll heel. So it's really cool to kind of mark a sound after. Now let's get to the part of the dog's neck. On the bottom of the dog's neck, this is where the dog is the strongest. This is where you want them to pull. So if I want Jazzy to pull me on the bike, I'll put it on the bottom of her neck so she can pull as flawlessly as possible. But if you're walking a dog with the collar or leash on the bottom of their neck, you're going to get pulled over. Now the next is the middle of the neck. This is probably the worst area and the most common area to put a collar. The reason for this is it chokes the dog the most. So here dogs going and gagging, but also you don't have any direction. So there's really no point to put it in the middle. The top is the best because this doesn't choke the dog as much as the middle, and it's where you can give them the maximum amount of direction. So always make sure before you start walking, you put it up to the top of their neck. You slide the little slip thing down so it doesn't fall back, and then you're good to go. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. When you're working with your dogs, I always say instead of committing to a distance, like I'm going to walk a mile, commit to an amount of time. And sometimes that amount of time will be a half hour. That's usually how much I recommend for medium energy dogs. So half-hour walk, and sometimes on your half-hour walk, you won't get out the door. You really won't at all. You'll be sitting there, you'll make them heel before you open the door. As soon as you open the door, they'll get up, you have to close the door, make them heel again. But the longer that you do this and the more you're serious with making them heel before you walk forward, the more they're going to learn, okay, well, in order to get going on the walk, which is what they want ultimately, they have to heel by your side. Can you sit down? Thank you. So I think this works the best out of any method for teaching your dog to walk on a leash, because the problem with just giving them treats to not pull is eventually if they want to get to another dog, that dog can be more enticing than a treat is. They'll get bored of treats, and I think this just is a flawless way to always be able to correct your dog and always keep them listening. One thing I'm going to say is with the pressure on the leash, you don't want to expect them to sit right away because they won't understand it. So I always start with slight pressure on the leash and practice it in the house when the dog can focus on you, and then bring it outside. Also, if the dog's state of mind is more intense or higher than your state of mind, do not keep walking. You need to stop and make sure that they calm down and get less intense before you walk forward. Okay, so that was just some tips and tricks on how to get your dog walking properly on a leash. I hope I answered most of your questions, and this was just a beginner kind of video on how to do it. I just wanted to give you a little synopsis, and if you want a more detailed version, we definitely can do that. Also, today's screecher call out goes to Sonia hold on. Sonia Fonseca. Thank you, Sonia Fonseca, for being such an amazing part of our family. I appreciate you and love you so much. And also thank all of you guys for being so great and such an amazing part of our family. I love you guys more than life itself, and I hope you're doing well. Okay, well, I will see you next video. Bye!